All right, let's now shift our attention to what is happening in Hong Kong, where the city has witnessed one of its biggest rallies in the last 7 months of continuous protests. This was the first police-sanctioned mass protest, which saw almost about 800,000 people hit the streets yesterday evening. The protesters formed a huge human chain from the Causeway Bay shopping district to the central business zone, a stretch of more than 2 kilometers.
We estimate 800,000 citizens joining our rally, and the political message is clear. People are resilient and people are persistent to the 5 demands. And Carrie Lam needs to take this into consideration and should set up an independent commission of inquiry as soon as possible. We are also disappointed by the police, especially the frontline police today. We see many intimidations. We see they try to set roadblocks and try to intimidate not only the participants of the rally, but also journalists in Central. And even they humiliated some of us with our backgrounds. So this is unacceptable, and we need to tell the police that they should behave and enforce the law in a professional manner rather than keeping intimidating people and keep scaring the people.
The crowds of protesters that had gathered were so large and dense that the march was halted to a standstill at certain times. Now, in this mammoth rally, people were, of course, seen chanting, "Fight for freedom," and they also held up signs of "Stop the police brutality." Now, during the pro-democracy demonstration, a woman was, of course, seen crawling on her hands and knees, dragging bricks and empty soda cans. While people around her cheered and shouted, "Go for it," everyone saw the art as an appropriate representation of her struggle in the city.
This is tremendously difficult for Hong Kong because I think her performance art is about the difficulty or the repetitiveness of demonstration, but I think the difficulty for Hong Kongers is not just about what kind of method we are using or what means, but it's that this is really a long-term struggle that we have to persist on, and we can't see a very definite end because what we want to fight against tyranny is really quite a very difficult and seemingly unreachable task.
The organizers are calling this the last chance for Hong Kong's Chief Executive Carrie Lam to give in to their demands. Since early June, the semi-autonomous city has been rocked by protests. Firstly, the protests were triggered by the now-scrapped draconian extradition bill, a bill that would have allowed the people of Hong Kong to be extradited to mainland China to be tried under the Chinese law. The people of Hong Kong have been pretty stern with their 5 key demands. Firstly, the extradition bill should be formally withdrawn. This, of course, was the first of the demands which has been met by the government so far. Secondly, they're also demanding for an independent inquiry into the alleged police brutality on the protesters. Thirdly, they want an official pardon for the thousands of people who have been charged with offences amidst the protests. Fourthly, they want a retraction of the police claim that the protesters are guilty of rioting. And their fifth demand is the right to elect their lawmakers and the chief executive of Hong Kong in a democratic manner. Now, there seems to be no end in sight for the protests in Hong Kong at this point of time, with Carrie Lam and Beijing not budging on the key demands. The state might have reached a bit of a stalemate. It's now a question of who will give up the march first. Remember, this violent wave of protests are seen as China's biggest political crisis in modern times.